breakthrough in brain health. So I'm so excited about these next 3 presenters. We've curated 3 of today's most promising and impactful technologies in the world of brain tech. So I'm going to introduce you, so I don't have to keep coming up back on stage, to all of them in the order that they will present. And I'm going to invite them to the stage at the same time so they can take a seat when they're just doing a little miking right now. First, Dr. Adhd, the Chief Medical Officer of BrainPower, will take the stage to share their intelligent wearable system helping a multiple of disorders like autism. They have an incredible Kickstarter going on, so you definitely want to check that out. Second, Lauren Sheehan, Clinical Manager of NeoFect, will share their dramatic developments in helping those with traumatic brain injury. And last, but certainly not least, is Matt Amernick, the Chief Creative Officer from Akili Interactive, and he's going to share how they are literally reinventing medicine using digital therapeutics and moving way beyond the pill. Did you guys all come up? Oh, I literally was about to clear something off of your head. You're wearing Google Glass.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So I wanted to ask, what would it be like if we had a classroom on top of our heads? What would it be like if we could wear a digital skills coach, a relationship coach, a digital tool that helps us navigate the footsteps of social interactions? So I represent BrainPower, and we are a neurotechnology company that helps children and families of special needs kids. We also focus very much so on autism. The picture you see before you is the first use of Google Glass, the Enterprise Edition, the V2, in a sample of children with autism that we published recently. So why are we focusing on this area? Because it's huge. And what I mean by that is that over 500,000 children in the US are in special needs education for autism, and that's federally mandated. We have 3.5 million people with autism in the US, and most of the young adults or fully mature adults don't have jobs. They're underemployed or unemployed. So we are looking at a tool that they could wear on top of their heads that allows them to interact with other people. Now, how do we do that? We've started to employ a variety of AI technologies, including a partnership with Affectiva, one of the leading emotion AI companies. And we are using tools, smart glasses, for example, like Google Glass, to help these children interact with another person. We have a school research program underway, and we have the early promising results of that. We have studies in terms of parents using it. We want to facilitate this social interaction. If you think about it, our face is one of the most important communicative tools, most powerful tools that we have. But many people with autism struggle to look at faces. This enormous amount of socially relevant data. You could tell so much about someone's background, their intentions, their actions. And we're using this to help guide people in a game-like manner based on neuroscience to help them interact with other people. Understanding emotions is so critical. If you don't understand emotions, how can you respond to people in social situations? We developmentally increase our ability to understand, sometimes manipulate, the emotions of other people in life. If you don't have those foundational steps, how do you progress? And again, using the Affectiva Emotion AI technology, we are helping to get these kids to learn how to understand, recognize, and respond to emotions. And we have preliminary data from our research program. We've published 3 papers just recently showing that we can do this. Also in autism, we actually struggle, many children struggle with transitions, going from classroom to classroom, going around their house. It's very difficult. So we have technologies that we can put on these light frame smart glasses that helps them to transition, enables them to see an entire 3D environment before they go there, whether that's the dental office, whether that's a new classroom. And what does this all lead to? This leads to better academics, better interactions with their family members. And we want these kids to succeed in the home, in the classroom, in the workplace, and socially in life. So what's our solution? So I mentioned to you we use Glass version 1, version 2. We have a variety of different partnerships with other technology companies using augmented reality in particular. But our solution is really fourfold. We have the smart glasses, but we also have a series of apps available on a smartphone that helps to guide the mother, the therapist, the facilitator through this interaction. We also have a web portal, which records all this information, both the in-game information, the points, the rewards, but also the movements and how that child is progressing. This is one of the real tough challenges when you look at behavior. How's Johnny doing today? How was he last week? It's hard for us to remember. It's hard for us to tell unless we have numerical reports. It cuts the workload from the teachers and educators and parents when a system like this can auto-generate reports for them. And finally, we, through our different partnerships, we are introducing an AI component that can analyze all of this data and help progress the research that we're doing. So let me show you some of the other things that we have. So look at all these different people. All these people, both children, young adults, and adults, have autism and they're wearing their glasses. Because many people question, will someone break this? Will someone break SmartGlass? You're giving it to kids. And kids sometimes that really struggle with transitions. But these glasses are actually very robust. And that's what our data has shown. And the other concern was, won't these kids have side effects? Won't they struggle? Will they get eye strain? Will they get headaches? And we have a paper that's actually pending review that shows that actually kids do remarkably well. And one of the advantages of Google Glass, because obviously you think about all these amazing technologies that are coming out, different headsets, different resolutions, they can do this and do that. But what's important about Glass and version 2 is it's so lightweight. You don't want something that's overly bulky on a child when they're interacting, when you're trying to develop these social interaction skills. And additionally, you should consider with any of these technologies, how much of the face is being covered up. Because if you're teaching someone how to interact with someone else and they're wearing an extremely bulky headset, a lot of that social engagement data that the child has with another person is lost, is obscured. And that's why, again, these lightweight frame glasses are very useful. So we, as a company, are privately capitalized. We actually have a direct grant from Congress to develop this technology. We have a series of lines of federal funding as well. We did an Indiegogo campaign that just ended a couple of days ago, and we raised $125,000. And why that's important is that the people who are placing orders for this technology, these people are moms of kids with autism. These aren't your tech-savvy people that are necessarily at our conference here looking at the latest technologies. These are moms, these are families, these are sometimes therapists who really want to take their work to the next level. So it's a harder thing to do with this technology, to sell it to this community. But one of the things that I want to say is we still can take orders in terms of getting this technology out there. It'll be ready in a few months to actually ship. And if anyone is actually interested in actual hardware, for example, they want to develop something on Google Glass themselves, given the fact that it's so lightweight and we're finding these positive results, we have the ability to get large quantities at a very reasonable rate. So if you want to talk to me about that. But overall, we found that for children with special needs, for children with autism, the research and the interaction data that we're getting has actually been phenomenal, and we hope to continue to do our research and expand access to something that's scalable, numerical, quantitative, and will start to give us more behavioral AI insights into how these children are doing. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Lauren Sheehan. I'm an occupational therapist by background and the clinical manager of NeoEffect USA. If you have your written programs, you might realize that I'm not Scott Kim, but I assure you I'm taller and better looking, so hopefully that works for all of you. Really excited to share with you today our NeoEffect Smart Rehab solutions, one of which and the primary focus of my time with you today will be the Smart Glove. I want to go over a little bit about who we are as a company, how we came to be, what problem our technology solves in working with patients with brain injuries and stroke, why it works, some principles behind its use, how it works, and then summarize and discuss at the end here. Neofect is our parent company, and we are based in South Korea. Repeal is the line of our smart rehab products, some of which, like the smart glove, you may have seen before. Our locations, we exist in Munich in the EU, and our US office is in California. And they say that necessity is the mother of invention. Unfortunately, the folks that we serve, there is a gap in their treatment. And Ho-Young Bon, one of Neofect's founders, had several family members that had experienced strokes and really felt that once they transitioned from the clinical setting to home, there wasn't a whole lot to serve them in terms of technology, particularly for hand and arm rehab. So we'll talk a little bit more about that population. Created as a solution for hand and arm rehab, our products are lightweight, beautifully designed and user-centered, and the main focus is that they transition with patients to continue their rehabilitation at home. We'll see if this will go for us. Okay. I just want to give you a little overview. The slide that had the video there shows our suite of products. And we had a couple of new things come to market this year, one of which is called the Smart Board, primarily for shoulder and reach retraining. The Smart Glove, of course, which we'll get a little bit more in depth on. The Smart Pegboard, which was recognized this year for as an innovation honoree. And then a new product that we're launching a Kickstarter for in 2018 called the Neo Mono, which is a device for grasp and release, an assistive device for helping patients who have high-level spinal cord injuries return to being able to use their affected limbs. To paint the picture of the reason that we exist and this population, between 2000 and 2010, stroke deaths declined by 36%. So people are surviving these events more regularly. Stroke affects a large number of folks, 800,000 individuals a year, and traumatic brain injury, 1.7 million people. And a lot of these individuals end up with residual deficits, one of which is upper limb dysfunction, so arm and hand weakness. The American Stroke Association notes that the end of formal rehabilitation usually occurs at 3 to 4 months after stroke or brain injury. So patients acutely injured, they're in the hospital setting, they transition to an inpatient facility, they go home perhaps with home health, they go to outpatient therapy, and then what? So our products really aim to solve that problem of then what by providing a tool for patients to use for their rehabilitation at home, as I mentioned. The Repeal Smart Glove has existed since 2015. It's kind of our flagship product. And it's a biofeedback training tool for improvement of range of motion, coordination, and timing. So it interacts with our software, allowing the user to set the parameters, kind of the just right challenge that Adam was mentioning, allows their own movement to set the level of difficulty for the task, and then using AI and machine learning, the difficulty changes as the patient performs the activity through adaptive level control. This allows for a high-intensity, high-repetition program for motor relearning through neuroplasticity. And for our home patients, our home software, Repeal Home, provides a learning algorithm to guide the patient through their training. So based on their performance and their preferences, gives them a sequence of training activities in a gamified way to really engage them in their program. So how important is repetition? And we kind of get this question in relation to our technology. Virtual reality solutions like the Smart Glove reinforce the voluntary repetition, and not only that, magnify a user's movement. So when someone's recovering from stroke or brain injury and has upper limb dysfunction, weakness in their arm and hand, they may have the ability to start to turn on that musculature, but it might be so slight that they can't actually use that arm and hand in their daily routine. If they can't use the arm and hand in their daily routine, they can't get the number of repetitions that we know through additional literature and research that continues to come out, the number of repetitions that are required for motor relearning. So they're sort of stuck in terms of really progressing that arm and hand, especially at home, as I've mentioned. A virtual reality solution like the Smart Glove increases repetition tenfold. So whereas in the clinic setting, a patient may be experiencing 30 repetitions as part of their hand and arm training, and that is in the literature. Our device, or a virtual reality device, would elicit something like 200 to 300 repetitions in the same amount of time. It engages the user, of course, very important, and that's what we're talking about here with the use of technology, provides feedback, and makes hand and arm rehab fun. This graphic on the slide here shows the importance of intensive training early. So our product can be used in the clinical setting and is portable and lightweight. A patient can start their intensive training shortly after an event like a stroke, which is when the brain is most primed for motor recovery. I'll put in a quick plug to come see us at booth 43055. And if you are interested in more information about what we're doing as far as our home programs are concerned, our web address is Repeal Home, R-A-P-A-E-L, home.com. It's okay. Yeah, no worries. No, all good. Come see us. Even more of a reason to come check us out. Do you have one that plays? Because the first one, I don't think the link worked. Do you? Okay. Yeah, that one would be great. Yeah. That's okay. That's all right. Come see us. You can see the Smart Glove and our other smart rehab devices in action. I just wanted to summarize. That's okay. The incidence of stroke and brain injury is growing. The importance of repetition really can't be understated in terms of a patient having access to a repetitious, intensive program for their arm and hand rehab in a fun and engaging way. Can you flip to the last summary slide for me? The Repeal Smart Glove, of course, is one tool to support patient rehab. Again, engaging, fun, provides feedback, magnifies movement through VR, directs the patient through AI, and most importantly, improves function. And we're excited to continue the work that we're doing with NeoEffect in providing hope for patients recovering from stroke and brain injury. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out to learn a little bit more about Achille. At Achille, we make cardboard flight augmentation suits for children. I'm kidding, although CES, that's really not that far-fetched. How do we really contribute to digital health? What we make are clinically validated prescription medicines that are delivered through video game experiences. So unlike a pill, our medicine is delivered in a way that's engaging, mobile, adaptable, and I'll talk a bit more about that. As Adam discussed earlier, we have a focus clearly in CNS, and we have multiple populations that we want to help. Right now, ADHD is our kind of first product through the pipeline, and we did just recently complete a really exciting phase 3 clinical trial, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But our potential here is the first FDA-cleared non-drug treatment for ADHD. All this started at University of California, San Francisco, the gentleman by the name of Dr. Adam Ghazali. You guys might know him. Hopefully you guys were here for his talk earlier. What we have done at the company is committed to build 2 pillars. One is the highest possible clinical rigor and validation. And 2 is an equally high production quality to the products that we create. We want to create products that look and feel and engage in the same way that games that kids will go out and choose to play. So this is really important to us as a company. So we've built, I think this is unique to Achille, an internal, fully operational, incredible game team that includes folks, some of the best folks from the games industry that come from a lot of the companies that you see up here. So from design, art, production, engineering, QA, the list goes on. We've really invested in creating a deeply engaged studio of game developers who not only know how to make great games, but now understand the science behind the pixels that we're creating. I'll be the first to say I am not a neuroscientist. My background comes from the entertainment, film, and games industry, but I am going to attempt some science here for you. This is really exciting data I can share with you from a study that we did in sensory processing disorder, which often shares a comorbidity with severe inattention. So what you can see on the left here, these are top-down of the brain EEG, and on the far left column, you see 3 different groups. At the very top is SPD plus inattention. Below that, SPD alone, and below that is a typical developing healthy child. So these are the pre-post measures, and if you look at the lower left, down by the typical developing child, you see that burst of red, right? This is similar to what Adam showed earlier. This is, all 3 groups were shown to stimulate a quick stimuli, which was I think an image on a card just to trigger this area, and this is what you see. So in the typical developing child, that area lights up big time. If you go all the way up top to the SPD with inattention, it's cold. There's nothing happening there. There's little to no response. So if you look at the column of the EEG imagery on the right, this is after playing 1 month of our treatment. So 5 days a week, 20 minutes a day. You can see that the SPD plus inattention kids are now firing at the level of a healthy child. This is really exciting for us. And on the far right, you can see that the subjective measures, in this case the Vanderbilt, support the objective. And not only that, once the children have completed the treatment after a month, we brought them back 9 months later to see if the effect was sustained, and it was. Oops. As I mentioned earlier, we have several populations that we're trying to help. Right now, this is a quick snapshot of our pipeline. ADHD is the farthest along. We're followed by autism, depression, MS, and several behind this. So what is it about video games? Why is this the right vessel, we believe, to deliver this kind of medicine? There's several reasons. One is that they're interactive, plain and simple. They force you to react, engage. Rather than a passive experience like watching a film, this is something that you really have to interact with, and that's huge. They're deeply engaging. We know that video games hook us, they keep us hooked. The compliance and the engagement is critical to what we do. Real-time feedback. Everything from every sound that you hear in the game to every point you earned, every star, every level you unlock, every single one of these things is providing you real-time feedback that's adapting and pushing you to the limits. They're highly adaptable and adaptive. This is very similar to what Adam was talking about earlier. Customizable for different disease populations and the individuals. And they're accessible and mobile. You know, we're coming really close to the point where everyone's going to have a smartphone or a tablet. So we want to make sure that this medicine is available as widely as possible. And, not to be underscored, low risk and safety. It's a quick example of how this works. Imagine on the left that this is your brain's abilities to process interference. The first thing that the game does is measures that ability at a really high degree to find out what your strengths and your weaknesses are. Once the game knows that, it uses that information to build all the rewards for the game. So everything I mentioned, the points, the stars, every little thing that you get as feedback or as a reward is fine-tuned to you. Then that information is spit back into the game, and the game is 30 to 60 frames per second, continually adapting at an even higher frequency rate to make sure that this closed feedback loop is happening at the highest degree possible. So that feeds back into your own performance, and as you see, the closed loop. So it's an oversimplification, but this is really how it works. we have a few design principles at Achille that we've learned over time are really important to us in the games and the treatments that we make. One is that we strive to have something that has universal appeal. We do make different games for different populations, and those are, of course, fine-tuned and different. But we really look at the kind of Nintendo model. They've historically done an incredible job of this, right, of creating games that are kind of age and gender agnostic, very positive feel. We don't have any death in our products. Nobody falls off cliffs, anything like that. High production value, as I mentioned earlier, this is incredibly important to us as well. We do extensive focus and clinical testing, so much more testing than you would with a traditional game studio, and much more testing than you would do with a traditional clinical trial. Story and character is really important to us. This is something that we know is kind of deeply ingrained in us to respond to and to form relationships with. So we spend a lot of time introducing story and character into all the products that we build. And highly specialized gameplay. That's focused to motivate very specific populations. There are very specific things for autism, for example, or depression that you definitely avoid with a video game or enhance with a video game. So as we've talked about a few times, and Adam mentioned earlier, we've got some great news. I first want to talk about the trial that we ran, because the trial alone is pretty significant for just digital medicine in general. So this trial was big, and it was run in the same way that a drug trial would. So as you can see, 348 participants across 20 sites, active control. This achievement alone, we think, is really great for digital medicine alone. And the short story is that it was a success. So as you can read in the randomized controlled trial of 348 children and adolescents diagnosed with ADHD, AKL-T01, that's the code name for this product, showed a statistically significant improvement compared to active control. And we are moving forward into the FDA process. We're going to announce a lot more detail about this in a couple days, actually, at the Adhd convention, which is January 12th through 14th. So book your flights now. So we're excited to share more information there. The other thing that I want to make sure I talk about while I have your attention, hopefully, is this is a new industry. A big reason that I'm here at CES is there is now this incredible opportunity for an entirely new world for developers, healthcare providers. There's a new industry, and it's incredibly exciting and creative and engaging, and also it's a wonderful legacy to be working on things that are going to improve people's lives. So we at Achille are growing. We're looking for the best of the best. We have many great people, but we are here to represent that and remind you guys that there is this new industry, and come talk to us if you want to be part of it. I do also want to mention the Digital Therapeutics Alliance. So we're a group of companies that are really advocating for digital medicine, the quality and the standards of the clinical trials that we run. But in the end, our goal here is to make sure that the digital medicine industry is successful and that we can improve as many lives of patients as possible. Thank you.
My mic on? I'm on. So next year, I really hope to be able to invite that alliance, to invite everyone to see the developments, because I think that is going to be really exciting. And I mentioned earlier, make sure tomorrow we have a whole section on digital therapeutics. It's a little bit towards the end of the day, but so worth it, what's going on in that field. So thank you. All of you doing such amazing things. Really appreciate having you here, sharing it. Your insights. I know a lot of you are going to want to have questions with them, and make sure to, if you can, because we have another amazing panel coming up, take conversations outside or wait to talk to them at the break, which will be following this next session. So a big round of applause to these amazing innovators.